Have you ever stood in front of the mirror, not just looking at your face, but really seeing yourself, and asked a quiet question you were almost afraid to hear the answer to? Is this truly how I'm going to spend the rest of my working life? And if one day I finally stop working, will I honestly be able to look back and say, yes, this was the life I chose? Not the life I settled for, not the life I drifted into, but the life I actually wanted. That question haunted me for years. And about a year ago, it finally stopped whispering and started demanding an answer. Just over 12 months ago, I walked away from what most people would call a safe life, a solid career, reliable income, company vehicle, benefits, structure, predictability. What I didn't have was a grand escape plan. No guaranteed pension ready to rescue me, no perfect roadmap, only modest savings, and a deep, uncomfortable awareness that staying where I was felt more dangerous than leaving. I'm 54 now. I was 53 when I made that decision, and before you imagine some privileged background, let me be very clear. I left school at 16, no university, no advanced qualifications, just an ordinary education from an ordinary comprehensive school. Like many people, I didn't design a career. I simply fell into work that paid the bills and allowed me to enjoy life outside of it. Then one day, an opportunity appeared. A manager saw something in me and offered a role that involved travel, technical responsibility, and challenge. I remember thinking, why not test myself? That single yes changed everything. Almost overnight, my income doubled. Bonuses followed, a company car, health care. The external symbols of success started stacking up. From the outside, it looked like I'd arrived. From the inside, something else was quietly forming its stir. Pressure. Psychology calls this identity fusion. When your job stops being what you do and becomes who you are. Then 2020 arrived. And like it did for many people, it cracked the illusion. When work resumed, the atmosphere was different. The numbers didn't work anymore. The company wasn't profitable. And slowly, without drama or warning, the doors closed. Because I'd given 15 years of my life, I received a reasonable redundancy payout. Not life-changing money, but enough to breathe. At first, I told myself I'd pause, reflect, recover. But instead, I made a common mistake. I bounced from idea to idea, from role to role. And without focus, money doesn't disappear loudly. It leaks quietly. Savings shrink. Confidence erodes. And mentally, you stay stuck between the past and the future. Then a former colleague called. He said there was an opening. A similar role, bigger company, multinational, the kind of place I once dreamed of working for, same money, same benefits, no financial anxiety. So I said yes again. And on paper, everything looked perfect. But emotionally, it felt wrong from the very beginning. The job had changed, the world had changed, and more importantly, I had changed. Every movement tracked, every hour justified, targets measured down to the minute, creativity replaced by compliance. Psychologically, this creates what's known as learned constraint, where capable people feel trapped inside systems that no longer allow expression or autonomy. I earned good money and I spent it, a camper van, a boat, motorbikes. And then my body sent me a message I could no longer ignore. Annual blood tests were routine because of blood pressure and cholesterol medication. But this time, the letter said something different. You are now pre-diabetic. That sentence landed hard. Because deep down, I already knew the truth. Life on the road meant convenience food, fast stops, McDonald's more than I'd admit. Wine every evening, thought in not to celebrate, but to decompress. Psychology calls this self-neglect through coping behaviors. When stress doesn't scream, it seeps. And in that moment, something shifted. Without consulting anyone, without debating it endlessly, without asking permission, I called my manager and resigned. People told me I was crazy. They said I could take it back, that they would understand. But clarity had arrived. Health first, career second. Because here's the truth. No one prepares you for quitting isn't the hardest part. Surviving the year after quitting is. When you've worked your whole life, your job becomes your identity, your status, your certainty. Removing it feels like standing naked in front of the world. But that discomfort, that's where rebuilding begins. After I walked away, reality didn't knock politely. It walked straight in and sat down. For the first time in decades, my days had no fixed shape. No alarm demanding obedience, no calendar telling me where to be, no corporate rhythm dictating my worth. And that freedom, at first, it's unsettling. Because when structure disappears, you meet yourself without filters. Psychology calls this identity withdrawal. When the role that once defined you is suddenly gone and your nervous system doesn't know what to attach itself to anymore. I had modest savings, not nothing, but not enough to feel invincible either. Under 20,000 pounds. No pension I could touch. No guaranteed income stream waiting quietly in the background. So the question wasn't philosophical anymore. It was practical. How do I survive without panicking? How do I earn without destroying the very freedom I just chose? The first thing I did was brutally simple. I looked around my house, and what I saw surprised me. Decades of possessions, things I had carried from home to home, items I hadn't touched in years, but somehow believed were part of me. Action figures, collectibles, boxes sealed since my 20s, not tools, not necessities, emotional anchors. Psychology calls this sentimental attachment bias. We overvalue objects because they're tied to who we used to be. So I started selling, one by one. And something unexpected happened. As the items left, the weight lifted. Not just from shelves, but from my chest. Things I bought in the 1990s for 10 pounds were now selling for 100, sometimes 150. Money I didn't even know I had was sitting quietly in my past. I sold on eBay, and with every sale, something clicked. This wasn't just income, it was momentum. Psychologically, this matters. Because momentum creates dopamine through effort, not reward. Unlike a salary, which arrives predictably and numbly, this felt earned. I wasn't making what I used to, not even close. But for the first time in years, I felt light. No Sunday dread, no insomnia driven by Monday anxiety, no racing thoughts about targets, meetings, justifications. Before, my mind never rested. Even sleep felt like a negotiation. Now, silence. And in that silence, I began to rebuild my days intentionally. Every morning I walk 5 miles along the river, through countryside. No headphones, no distractions, just presence. When people talk about nature, I used to dismiss it as soft thinking. But neuroscience is clear on this. Time spent in nature lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. Lower cortisol improves sleep. Better sleep improves decision-making. Better decisions change lives. It's a cascade. My sleep improved first, from 1 hour some nights to 6 or 7 consistently. Then my energy stabilized. Then my thinking slowed down. I added strength training 3 times a week, nothing extreme. Rows, presses, squats, curls. At 54, you're not chasing muscle growth. You're protecting what you have. This is muscle preservation psychology, maintaining capability rather than chasing vanity. I also changed how I eat. Not perfectly, not obsessively. I eat my last meal by 8 in the evening. I don't eat again until 5 the next day, simple fasting. During the week, clean, nutritious food, no sugar, no bread. On weekends, freedom. Bacon sandwiches, sweets, beer. This matters psychologically because restriction without relief creates rebellion. Allowance creates sustainability. A few weeks ago, my doctor sent a message. My blood sugar is back in the normal range, no longer pre-diabetic. That wasn't luck. That was alignment. Health improved when my life stopped fighting me. Then came the next realization, one that quietly dismantled everything I believed about money. I don't need as much as I thought. I sat down and calculated what I actually needed to exist peacefully. Not impressively, not excessively, just calmly. Council tax, utilities, food, fuel, occasional treat. I canceled subscriptions I didn't use, 10 pounds here, 15 there. And when I added it all up, the number shocked me. My minimum viable income was around 1,000 pounds a month. That's it. Psychologically, this is powerful. Because once you know your survival number, fear loses leverage. I own my home, so rent wasn't part of the equation. But even if it is for you, the principle stays the same. Define what you need, not what culture tells you to chase. From there, everything simplifies. I realized I wasn't chasing money anymore. I was reclaiming time. Time to think, time to learn, time to heal, time to choose. And here's something no one tells you. When you stop rushing, clarity shows up uninvited. That's when I discovered reselling properly. Vintage arbitrage, or buying undervalued items, selling them for what they're actually worth. Boot sales, online auctions, old electronics, spare parts. I made mistakes, bought junk, lost money, but even that taught me something important. Failure felt different now. It didn't threaten my identity, it informed it. Psychologically, this is growth-based risk, where failure educates instead of humiliates. Some months I earn less than 1,000, some months more, but every pound feels alive because I earned it consciously. And more importantly, it gave me time. Time to learn digital marketing, time to build skills for a future I actually want. If someone offered me 10,000 pounds a month to return to my old life, I would decline, because money without autonomy is just a well-decorated cage. This life won't suit everyone. Responsibilities differ. Families matter. But the principle applies universally. You can redesign your life to serve you instead of spending your energy serving systems that drain you quietly. I didn't know how this would turn out. I only knew I couldn't stay, and sometimes that's enough. Somewhere in your 50s, something deeply uncomfortable settles in. It's quiet. It doesn't announce itself. But once you notice it, you can't unsee it. You've already lived more years than you have left. Not in theory, in math. And that realization does one of two things. It either terrifies you, or it finally frees you. For me, it did both. I started noticing people disappearing from my life. Colleagues, friends, family. Not drifting away, leaving permanently. And psychologically, this triggers what's called mortality salience. The sudden awareness that time is not abstract anymore. It's finite, and it's personal. That awareness changes your priorities whether you want it to or not. Things that once felt urgent lose their grip. Emails, deadlines, targets, they shrink, and questions grow. What actually matters now? What deserves the remaining energy I have? I realized something painfully simple. I'd been trading my healthiest hours for money I didn't truly need, to buy things I barely enjoyed, to recover from a life that was exhausting me quietly. That's not ambition, that's unconscious survival. So I slowed down even more. And slowing down is terrifying in a culture addicted to speed. But psychology is clear here. Constant urgency keeps the brain in sympathetic dominance, a fight-or-flight state that slowly erodes health, joy, and judgment. Stillness restores perspective, and perspective rewrites values. I stopped asking, how much can I earn? And started asking, how little do I need to live well? That question changed everything, because when enough becomes clear, excess stops being seductive. I didn't want more stuff. I wanted more life inside my days. I wanted mornings without dread, evenings without numbing habits, sleep without anxiety looping in the background. And here's the uncomfortable truth I had to face. My job wasn't stealing my time. I was handing it over because I didn't believe I had permission to choose differently. That belief runs deep in men. We're taught that responsibility means endurance, that stability means sacrifice, that happiness is something you earn after decades of pressure. But that's not strength, that's conditioning. Psychology calls this delayed fulfillment bias, the belief that joy must always be postponed for safety, and postponed joy has a habit of never arriving. When I removed the job, something unexpected happened. I met boredom. And boredom isn't the enemy people think it is. Boredom is the doorway to creativity. It's where the nervous system finally exhales. It's where curiosity wakes up again. That's when I truly learned to resell, not desperately but skillfully, not chasing money, studying value, understanding what people need, understanding what breaks, understanding what's replaceable and what's scarce. I learned that almost anything can sell. Old cables, obsolete plugs, spare parts people throw away without thinking. I sold a navigation plug for 10 pounds, something most people would toss into a drawer forever. That moment taught me a lesson bigger than money. Value is everywhere. We're just trained not to see it. And seeing value in objects, time, health, changes how you move through life. But here's the deeper shift. Earning money this way gave me back something no salary ever did. Agency. When money comes automatically, respect for it fades. When money comes through awareness, effort, and learning, it commands attention. That attention sharpens you. And slowly, quietly, I noticed something profound. I was calmer. My thoughts weren't racing. My body wasn't tense. My evenings didn't need escape. This is what psychologists mean when they talk about internal alignment. When your actions stop fighting your values. That alignment healed me faster than any motivational quote ever could. I began investing time instead of spending it, learning marketing, learning digital skills, learning how systems actually work. Not because I was desperate, but because I was curious again. Curiosity is a sign of psychological safety, and safety allows growth. If you asked me today, would you go back to your old life for more money? My answer is immediate. No, because freedom without health is useless and money without time is noise. This doesn't mean everyone should quit their job. That's not the message. The message is far more subtle and more powerful. You don't need permission to redesign your life. You don't need a breakdown to justify change. You don't need consensus to listen to your body. You only need honesty. Honesty about what drains you. Honesty about what restores you. Honesty about what you're willing to trade and what you're not anymore. I didn't know how this journey would unfold. I still don't. But I know this. For the first time in decades, My days feel like mine. And that alone is wealth. By the time you reach your 50s, life stops lying to you. It doesn't shout. It doesn't dramatize. It simply removes the illusions one by one. You begin to see clearly what matters and what never really did. And that clarity can feel brutal because it exposes how much time you spent running in directions you never consciously chose. That's why I want to leave you with the 4 lessons this year carved into me, not as advice, not as motivation, but as lived truth. The first lesson is this: time is more valuable than money. That sounds obvious, almost cliche. But most people don't live like they believe it. Money can be replaced. Careers can be rebuilt. Possessions can be sold again and again. Time only moves in one direction. When it's gone, it's gone. And in your 50s, you finally feel that truth in your bones. That awareness either paralyzes you or sharpens you. I chose to let it sharpen me. The second lesson is quieter, but just as powerful. You only need enough money, not excess, not status-driven income, not lifestyle inflation disguised as success. Once you calculate what you actually need to live with dignity and calm, everything else becomes optional. Psychology calls this cognitive load reduction. When fewer financial demands free mental energy. When you stop chasing more, you start noticing what's already sufficient. The third lesson is non-negotiable. Your health is not optional. It is not a side project. It is not something you get to later. It is the foundation that supports every future possibility. Without health, freedom collapses. Without health, money is meaningless. Without health, plans turn into regrets. My body warned me quietly, through stress, through poor sleep, through blood results. I listened before it had to scream. That choice changed everything. And the fourth lesson, this one matters the most. You do not need permission to change your life, not from your employer, not from society, not even from the people closest to you. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is act without explaining yourself, because most people will project their fears onto your decisions. That doesn't make them wrong. It just means they're not living your life. I didn't ask anyone what they thought. And for the first time, that felt honest. When you remove urgency, when you simplify your needs, when you prioritize your health, and when you stop waiting for approval, life slows down. And in that slower pace, something rare happens. You start waking up with enthusiasm again. Not excitement fueled by pressure, but a calm readiness to meet the day. I'm still on this journey. There is no finish line here. But I can say this with certainty. I am no longer rushing through my life. I am living inside it. And if you're in your 40s, 50s, or beyond, feeling that quiet pull, that sense that something needs to change, listen, because that voice doesn't come early and it doesn't come often. Until next time, take care of your time, because it's the one thing you'll never get back.